This is a 32 team, man. Eight IDP, PPR, cap contract. But I can tell you the fucking two rosters right now are probably the worst that I've seen in a while. One of them, yeah. Well, none of the good shit's going to come open. The only one that's came open in the last 3 years worth of fuck, Nate got it.
And I dive bombed that.
How are they on draft picks?
Neither one of them's got shit, man. I'm telling you.
Right.
Yeah, it's a will and deal.
Send me a couple of pictures of the roster. Has the trade deadline passed, or do you guys not have a trade deadline?
Right now we're shut down. Yeah, it passed. Right now we're shut down in playoff mode, man. So there's nothing. Both rosters aren't in the playoffs, so it really doesn't matter.
Right. No, it was more something where like the closer you get to playoffs, the better time it is for those teams to sell. So I was thinking maybe like if I took over one of the teams, I could fire sale, pick up a bunch of draft picks, and start the rebuild. But
we're shut down. No trades, no nothing. Yeah, nothing right now.
Yes.
The best dealing would be we'll open it up again in January, and everybody get a bunch of cap back. We got free agent auctions. We got the restricted free agent auction, which I noticed that we're going to have a fucking killer amount of really good restricted free agents to bid on. And there's not that much money to go around. This is actually going to be a good off season for somebody. I told John that the other day. I think, that's why I was telling him to get a bunch of cash. Remember, John?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot. There's going to be something to work with. I wouldn't. A team probably worse than the one you're getting ready to take over just won that division. I ain't lying.
Send me pictures of the two rosters and send me all the rules.
All right.
Because obviously, like, it's going to take some research into how the cap works and all that, and what's going to be available. So send me any of the relevant information. I'll take a look at it.
All right. Yeah. I got to let Sam go first, man.
What was that? That's fine.
Sam's getting into.
Yeah, he was supposed to. I don't know if he'll take one of these two or not.
Gotcha.
But these literally just came up probably about 2 hours ago, Sean.
Wow.
Yeah, no worries. So let Sam pick first. Just send me both the rosters just so I know what I'm looking at.
Neither one of them is pretty.
Yeah, that's okay. I've done rebuilds before. It's just
cool.
The salary cap is the only thing that throws me off, is just because, if you're doing a rebuild and you have one decent player, you can start to compound that. And if you work the waiver wire and all that, but if there's a salary cap, then you got to find a team that can afford the player, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's kind of the thing that's going to make it a little more difficult.
Normally we have some high, we do have some high guys, but I'm thinking that the two rosters, usually I tweak them a little bit. Like if something is really fucked up, like if you're spending quarter your goddamn cap on a player, I'll cut them down. You know what I mean? Before somebody takes over, I kind of fix the roster a little bit when it comes to the money.
Yeah, just to manage it so that it's a more appealing option to take over. Yeah. I gotcha.
I think both of them already had cap. Again, I'll just have to look, man. One of them's the Niners, and the other one was Cleveland. And I was the Niner guy. He's been with us for about 9 years, and about this time each year he'll quit and he'll come back in the middle of the summer and go, "Let me get a new roster." I got a feeling that's going to quit this year because it's pretty well taken over all of it, paying it. He's been doing it to this other commissioner for quite a while, but I'm not feeling it. So yeah, man, thanks. I appreciate it. Bye. Dude's 9 years, never even came close to sniffing the playoffs.
I love a good rebuild though, man. Like I love just the challenge of taking a roster that's just beat to shit, working the waiver wire, and just like, obviously, like the replacements league didn't work out for me, but hell, I won 3 games, and I was sixth place in points, so got a little unlucky with the record, but that team was built entirely off waiver wire players in a 14-team league, so we'll take it.
That's cool, man. Yeah, you'll enjoy this, especially if you can find those deep ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with that replacements league, if it was Dynasty, you'd be looking all right for next year.
Yeah, if it were Dynasty, none of my waiver wire guys would have been on the waiver wire.
That is also true.
But I might have gotten some more usable talent for this year. So
yeah. All right, so let's kick this interview off. All right. And we're joined this week by the IDP tipster himself at HBogart27. Gary, welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, it's good to be back, man. I'm ready to talk some IDP shit.
Yeah, it's good to have you. The first time with you and Sean on at the same time. So, Gary, this is Sean.
Yep.
Sean, this is Gary.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Yeah, all these months, man.
Yeah, no, it's been what a year now, basically, or pretty close.
Yeah,
it's
something
about
like
half
that.
a year. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Enough that I've seen you get in the passing, just hadn't got to talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, these two have already worked out getting Sean into Gary's 32-man team. So.
The one I said I would never join, and that's all it took was, hey, you want to?
That's the shit.
Yeah, I guess.
It's the shit. Yeah. You'll enjoy it, especially if you're like you was just talking about a little bit ago, man. If you're into just being active, that's the main thing. You can't sit still in that league. Guys just sit still. They don't last. They don't ever make it.
Yeah, trading is my thing. I love trading. I love working the waiver wire. There's nothing I love more than being able to tweak a roster and like shift those back end players for other back end players constantly. So
yeah, you'll like this.
I think that was my downfall this year. I had a really good roster going in, and then between school and doing the site and stuff, I just had the time to really dig into it. But I'm hoping next season. I'm coming for you, Gary. I'm gonna win that division.
Yeah,
take it. From
me.
I
know. I'm getting ready to lose. Right before playoffs, man. I made all those trades for those 2019 guys. So yeah, Sean, I don't pick. I hate rookies.
Yeah.
So I do exactly the same thing, man. I build off out wire, make those trades and stuff. So I'll be in the same boat. I'll be rebuilding about a quarter of my team. Starters.
Yeah.
But I'm going for the ring. Got to have that ring, man.
That's what it's all about. Everyone loves the draft picks, but realistically, man, like if the draft picks don't get you a championship, there's no point in having them. So.
Yeah, they sure the hell can't be inserted in my roster.
Yeah.
My lineup.
Damn straight. So speaking of rosters and all of that, Gary, you've been doing something a little different from what you normally have been this season. And that's the live chats, and kind of going into a little more depth in your charts, your start-sit charts.
Right.
You want to go into that? Tell us, tell the listeners kind of what you've been doing.
Well, I spent a lot of time last year when I was doing these, and I wanted to get more in depth. I wanted to keep them easy. That is the main thing for those people that just want to, look it up and get on about it. So, but I wanted to go a little bit more in depth for those that really are digging, especially in the deeper dynasty leagues or something like that. So I figured that it was a lot easier for me to do all my research. Same thing I do is I fill out the charts, and as I periodically just stop and go back over what it was that I seen, what made me make that decision on those charts. And, then you can throw out some warnings. You can do this and that where you can't quite get that across in typing, at least not as fast. I think it's a lot easier to just tell somebody, don't do this or look for that, So it's really worked out so far. I haven't gotten it down to where I'm doing it every week and every chart, but it's all a matter of time, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. So we've got, 2 more weeks of fantasy football, 2 or 3
basically.
Yeah.
Yay, it's almost over, huh? That sucks.
Yeah. So how much longer are you going to do these charts for the listeners so they know?
I don't do 17. I don't know who out there is sitting. I have seen a few leagues that they're having their championship in 17. They might as well just flip a quarter and say you win.
Yeah, having your championship in week 17 is just dumb, man. Like, it's like, you dominate all year long, and then you just get fucked. Where it's like, yep, one star isn't playing, and suddenly your team is just screwed. It's
or
like,
half of them, man. I mean, hell, if you just happen to own a bunch of guys that are on the real life playoff teams, a lot of teams just sit their guys 17.
Yeah,
so you're really hit.
Yeah,
that's the end of it. And I don't know. I can never get behind a week 17 championship.
Absolutely. So for those out there, make sure you're checking out Gary's charts and lives for the next couple weeks. Help win your championship there. So let's also talk about some dynasty stashes. I mean, that's going to be the hot button topic right now for those of you that aren't in the playoffs or want to, kind of get a little head start into next year. Gary, what players are you looking at to pick up off the wire to just put in your bottom of your roster just to carry over for next year?
All right, got them on there, man. I ain't looking for nobody. I've done quite a few futures articles, and I mean, I have that select handful that's really, came to the top to me. Their momentum is really carrying through this last few weeks. So, I mean, I could honestly, is Okaloon sitting anywhere anymore? So I can't really talk him up anymore. I mean, he's to me, all the signs are he'll be the weak side linebacker next year, and they haven't re-signed Campbell, and Duke Riley's not getting it done. This last week with Jones back, it was what Okaloon got 64% of the snaps, and he actually sat out a series or two, so he would have had a higher amount. I think Jones had like 79%. But I mean, the guy, it's just basically he's past Riley. I think he could have hung with Campbell, and he outproduced Campbell with less snaps. They haven't signed Campbell, and I think Riley's just a backup at best. So I like Okaloon a lot to actually. I guess he's almost became my Matt Milano this year. He's probably who I'm going to be rooting for the hardest.
Gotcha.
But I got a couple other stashes. There's a couple.
So with wow, now I'm gonna have a problem pronouncing his name. Aluakun.
Aluakun. I finally learned it. Don't screw me up now, man. You say it wrong one way, and I'm going to be stuck that way forever.
So would you, if your trade deadline hasn't passed in your dynasty league, would you go out and try and buy him at this point?
If I could get him, I wouldn't go overpaying. That'd be silly. But I mean, definitely, it'd be worth to send a little something, fill it out, see what it's worth. There's
like
no reason.
Where are you looking for price? Like what do you?
16 team, probably. I think a safe bet would be a third rounder, that kind of level.
Okay, just kind of a flyer pick.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a little bit more. I have a hard time trading any kind of picks for anything because I don't need them. So for me to judge that type of shit, I would keep Okaloon. I wouldn't trade him. I wouldn't trade him for a second. You know what I mean? Because
if you're trying
to give up for him. Like, do you think?
What would it take to buy him?
Yeah, what do you think you would give up, and still feel like it was a solid trade?
So, like, I'm running a hard bargain on you, and I'm pushing you to your max. What is the highest you would go for him?
Man, I mean, you're going to give me a lottery ticket. You're going to give me a lottery ticket for a guy that I already know what he's capable of. I'd rather keep my lottery ticket I got. I got to be honest. Yeah, I suppose if I needed if I was rebuilding and needed a running back or a wide receiver, maybe a top half first round or something. But I mean, I'm one of those guys. I just soon sit on what I have when it comes to pick value. So it's kind of hard to explain. I'll just sit there.
Yeah.
I'll find another. But I mean, it definitely worth. It's like that Morrow in for Oakland He's been getting about 60% of the snaps, and then all of a sudden this past weekend, he got 90. And I think what it's a lot of people, Marquell Lee fans, anybody that's real deep with him, they might be a little bit butthurt right now because he got moved to the strong side linebacker. But basically, what's happened there is Gruden's like a couple of weeks ago, he said, well, he's playing really well there. We're going to leave him there at the strong side, but he's only getting like, a third of the snap counts. They know what they got in Lee. They know what they got in Lee. They know what they got in Whitehead. He's just a guy to sit there for a year or two, Mm-hmm. But now they need to look and see if they need to spend any draft picks this spring. So they're going to look at Morrow, and I think it was a Calipa or something like that. But Morrow is really the one that's emerged. And after getting 90% of the snap counts, if he does that again this week, he's got that momentum. He's actually doing well. He's grading well. He's looking good on the field. He's not disappointing Gruden. So if he can turn around and earn that spot and keep those 70-80%, he definitely is worth a stash next year, because Gruden's got to start all over. Why does he want to go? If you're trying to rebuild, you're not going to go spend those draft picks on something you don't have to. And he has to, the whole offense needs redone basically, if you're talking 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, I like Morrow a lot. He's worth the end of the bench stash, definitely.
There you go. Yeah, for sure. So who else you got there, Gary?
Dude, I didn't bring my list, but I'm sure I can name a couple more. All right.
Maybe Johnny's got one.
You still wake up here, John?
Yeah, let me see what I got. What do you think of Maurice Hurst next year, or Godchow?
I'm still on the God check. I think that if he would have been I had him as a breakout. He's only one of the three that I think he broke out better for the NFL team than the Miami Dolphins than he did for, any fantasy. He started out really strong there for the first 4 weeks. And then all of a sudden, I think that opposing teams decided, this is somebody we ought to stop. So I still like his future next year. Again, but how do you suggest stashing a defensive tackle?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, realistically, shoot higher. Shoot for one of the more prominent, unless you're in a sack heavy, maybe.
Yeah, it all depends on the league format, where you could be playing in an all IDP dynasty with 25-man benches, 16 teams.
Yeah,
Sounds like a wet dream.
Yeah.
let's make it happen then.
32 team. Let's do it. Salary cap.
Oh God.
Juice this thing up.
Yeah. Sean, you ought to see me in the spring, man. I make people mad because it's like I got all this paperwork for all these 32 teams and all this shit that we do that you're gonna find out, man. You got to ask the fart. Because everything you do, IR people and all that, I keep track of everything. Because it's like doing an accounting, being a bookie at the end of the year.
Oh, I know. I am commissioner of a bunch of dynasty leagues, and it's amazing how little appreciation people have for the amount of work that we put into this. Where even if you're in a league where the actual site only allows draft picks out 2 years or something like that, where it's like, yeah, man, I got to keep a spreadsheet of all the draft picks anybody wanted to trade from 2030. It's like, people just don't understand the amount of work that goes into this shit.
Yeah, it's been this. So this was the 10th year, 5 years in one site, one league, and then we learned from our mistakes, made this one, and that whole time, slowly but surely, I've narrowed down. Like there used to be even a broader thing that people could do where they could pay on contracts for 1 year, and man, the paperwork that shit created. 32 guys doing that. And you always have one of those owners that, oh man, to get this done, I'm paying, and it's just, oh my God, drive you nuts.
What site are you using?
MFL, man.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my favorite. And once I got used, that deep shit there on MFL. I can't get over all you can do if you just take the time to learn how to do it,
I've really enjoyed Sleeper Bot, to be honest. Like, I was kind of skeptical of it going into the year. you can't do all the stuff you can do on MFL, but you can do a good amount of it. So if you're not doing, I guess I haven't even really looked into salary cap or any of that because I've never really done a league like that.
Right. Yeah.
But in terms of just like the cleanness of the app and all that stuff, like it's really good. They're constantly making updates. They've done a really nice job. So
we did those whatchamacallit, those drafts during the summer, those mocks.
Yeah.
And it was all right. I mean, I didn't have no. It was better than fucking Yahoo, man.
Yeah, their rankings for IDP are really bad, but like for the most part though, like the site itself is great. So as long as you're not relying on SleeperBot's rankings to do your draft, which if you're in an IDP league, you probably shouldn't be relying on the rankings they give you, right? Yeah. So
you go find somebody else.
Yeah, but just like the cleanness and all that stuff, it does like a lot of the stuff that I'm looking for out of MFL, but it does it in a lot more condensed, user-friendly way that I don't need to go through a million menus and open it up in the browser, and I have a clean app that everything works with. So
I could see that. I could definitely see that.
So for just like my straight dynasty leagues and stuff, I'm definitely like, after a year of doing a couple in SleeperBot, I'm definitely thinking about moving all of them over there. But yeah, so I mean, like, but there are other leagues where stuff like what you're doing, like, those are way more complex leagues that you need.
And I only do
literally nobody will do it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm probably like you guys. I mean, when 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I was doing the 30, 40 fucking leagues. You had like your handful of dynasties, and then you had your redrafts, and not anymore. For like the last 2 to 3 years, I had 4 this year, and that was just I drafted some right before the season started on ESPN. It's just because it was familiar, because ESPN hadn't updated a damn thing in 10 years. Still like him better than Yahoo, though.
How is Yahoo not? Yeah, okay, so quick question. Yahoo makes a shit ton of money as a company. How the fuck do they not have a single dude that does IDP rankings? Like, they don't have anyone. Like, you would think, like, just hire one person. One person. You need one guy. Get one guy to go in there, give his rankings, and at least get some semblance of. It's just nonsense.
Well, there's too many sites out there similar to Yahoo that they just go out there, man. It's all about the money and to get people to play. So they hire somebody just to run one, not run one. Not run it. Well, this is what I would want. They're just offering those basic things. So.
Yeah, but I mean, like, how much? Like, okay, so Yahoo comes to you and is like, all right, we're gonna pay you to make defensive player rankings for IDP. How much money would it take for you to agree to that?
$1 a player.
Okay, so total, like they pay you what, like $600, and they have rankings now. It's like, dude, it would not take that much for them to just be like, this is something that's happening. People are playing IDP. We should just hire somebody to do it. Like, I don't know. It's nonsense.
Well, I mean, why hasn't ESPN ever really? I mean, they do it, but they don't do IDP like like you can find out here on Twitterland and such. ESPN's been around for 20 years doing this shit.
That's what I'm saying. Yahoo and ESPN, they make so much money. You think they could hire one guy who's like, John Bostic was scoring like 20 points a week for the first 4 weeks.
I'm going to be honest, man. I even think like there's some of these bigger ones that I wouldn't pay 2 cents for their IDP guys' knowledge,
No, but like it's what I'm saying is like John Bostic for 4 weeks was like 20 points, and then it comes out and week 5 he's still projected at 0. It's like, how do you not have anybody on your entire staff that's like, oh yeah, this guy is playing. We should project him literally anything. Project him at 5 points, and it's better than where you're at. So I don't know. They just think. You would think.
Well, Yahoo, we are for hire. We will do your analysis. You can purchase us. We will work for you.
Yahoo.
If
no women, unless they buy us.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They
Okay. I
purchase
like
us,
Yahoo.
and now we're employees, and we make decent salaries.
Yahoo!
Gary will be the poster child for Yahoo if that happens.
Oh, yeah. Go on, JJ. Hold on. Let me get rid of my dog, man. Go on. All right.
But, yeah.
He's coming to attack. Sorry about that, fellas.
No, you're good. So, let's keep on this Dynasty stashes, but let's kind of put a twist on this. Sean, give us some guys that you're stashing in offense, and let's kind of bounce this around because Gary does offense too. So, we can discuss this.
It really depends on how deep you want to go. Because, like, you're looking at a 32-team league. I don't even know what the waiver wire looks like in that case, but
non-existent.
But
a
like
barren desert.
Yeah. So for me, like, the guys that I've been looking at all year are now just getting rostered with the injuries. But the guys that I'd be specifically targeting are people like John Kelly, people like, I'm thinking Jalen Samuels is probably not going to be the backup to James Conner next year, but all those running back backups that the team is not going to invest in another running back. So, like, you look at the Rams with John Kelly, and the Rams are probably not going to spend any sort of decent draft capital on a running back. So they have Todd Gurley. So what they're going to do is they're probably going to run with John Kelly as their backup next year. And if Todd Gurley goes down, you get the James Conner effect from this year. So for me, I'm looking at a bunch of those type of dynasty stashes. As far as receivers, you have to go really deep to find receiver stashes now, and most of them have started blowing up. Like the guys I was preaching at the beginning of the year, the Dante Pettises and the Traquan Smiths and stuff, they're all rostered in terms of dynasty now. So what you want to kind of start looking at are the teams that are going to need receiver help that are not going to be able to afford a receiver, and then guys that are in contract year. So like someone who's a really deep stash that I kind of like is someone like Leonte Carew, who's just now, like for the first time in his career, starting to get playing time. And I think he's in a contract year, so he's going to be going somewhere else this year. So if any other team looks at what he's done in these last two games, I guess not this last game, but the game before and all that, and they see anything desirable, he could work his way into a role. You look at guys like Brandon Powell and stuff like that for the Lions, who it's like, man, they need so many things. There's a really good chance they're just not going to be able to invest in wide receivers. Auden Tate, I really like as like a red zone specific threat that the Bengals have just not tried to utilize yet. I think he's better than Cody Core. And I think that there's a chance that they find, because the thing was that Auden Tate was never going to be like a complete receiver. You know, he just wasn't athletic enough. So without that top end speed and agility and stuff, you have to kind of find ways to work him in. And for him, you know, as a jump ball receiver that runs decent routes at his size, you're looking at somebody who can work within the red zone, and they just haven't tried to utilize him there yet. So I think that if they can figure out how to use him, he's the type of person who, you know, maybe could land like 3 to 4 catches a game, get a touchdown here or there, and somebody gets really hyped on it, and then you flip them, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So when I'm looking at dynasty offense, it's not just about which guys are going to blow up and I'm going to be able to use, because most of the time, realistically, the only time that stashes like that really, really pay off are with running backs. Most of the time, receivers, if they break out, they're guys you've heard of, and they're guys that are rostered, stuff like that. Running backs can come out of nowhere and be productive. So what you're looking at are the guys that have the highest potential to flash well enough that you can flip them for more than you paid for them. And someone like Auden Tate is exactly the type of guy. Someone like
especially preseason, man, that's a beautiful a beautiful flipping time. Yeah,
because people get all hyped when they're seeing him play against backups, and you're like, yep, take him. I paid a second, give me a first, whatever.
Oh yeah, he's a badass. Yeah, it's yours. What do you got?
I love Richie James in that sense, where Richie James is finally starting to get some work. It looks like he's kind of he's kind of overtaken Trent Taylor as the slot receiver. I really liked him in college too, so he's someone where you know, if Garoppolo comes back, he could definitely offer some potential, and he may not be anybody that you're going to want to start on a weekly basis. He may end up being a decent wide receiver 3 as his career progresses, or he may end up being nothing who just flashes. But I think he's talented enough that he'll flash enough at some point that you'll have a chance to sell that and you'll get more than what you paid. Because I got to believe people in a rookie draft were paying like 4th, 5th round picks, like to draft him in the original rookie draft. So even now you could probably sell him for a 3rd. And if he starts like starting consistently with Garoppolo next year, you probably flip that for a 2nd. And that's a huge, huge win in my opinion. So,
yeah, definitely.
Nice. Well,
I wrote all that down, by the way. I'll need that in duplicate. Trying to remember these goddamn names. He's like, All right. Yeah. Just send it to my email, gmtvandyke@gmail, man.
You got it.
All right. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Sean's our offensive guru over here.
Yes, he was. I caught a few of those names, man, but he's a little deeper. He's about as deep in that O as I am in the IDP. So
it's all just the draft stuff, man. After you watch, if you watch the draft and like study all these college players in depth, you start to know everybody. So even like guys that went in the 7th round 3 years ago, it's like, oh yeah, that guy's getting playing time. I like that guy. Let's see what he can do.
Right. Yep.
Nice.
The name of the game, man. Get them and flip them if you can too. On the offensive or the defensive side of the ball, you shouldn't ever, in my opinion, I see too many guys that do the flipping and then all of a sudden they stop because I don't know if it's because they just want to wishful think that these guys are automatically going to be game winners for them down the road. I mean, that's 2 or 3 years away sometimes, and half the damn time somebody ends up dropping somebody, and that's when they hit is the next year. I always try to just keep flipping to maximize that roster, as much as possible. I mean, I understand it. A standard size league, that kind of hits a wall. All of a sudden everybody's like sitting.
Yeah. And like for me, the biggest thing is that people see potential in a different way where like I try and look at a player and be like, all right, what are the realistic chances that player could be a week in, week out wide receiver 1, top 12 wide receiver. And it's like most of these guys that people are paying like 1st round picks for and stuff, they're not wide receiver 1s. And what you're hoping if you're spending a 1st round pick on a wide receiver is that you get a potential wide receiver 1. It's a lottery ticket. So you look at some of these like smaller slot wide receivers that are getting a lot of receptions and stuff. And it's like, yeah, they definitely have their place on a roster, but that place is usually wide receiver 3 flex and like sometimes a low end wide receiver 2 and stuff. But if you want those high end wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 1s, you need a specific type of player. And if that guy doesn't fit the bill, he's probably not worth a 1st round pick, in my opinion. So if someone's willing to pay you a 1st round pick for one of those guys, like Christian Kirk, dude, I love Christian Kirk. He's been playing really well. He's putting up, 12 points a game or whatever. Somebody wants to give me a high end 1st or like mid to high end 1st. It's like, yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that because what I'm hoping for, best case scenario out of Christian Kirk for his entire career is going to be like a low end wide receiver 2. And so you want to get rid of that and for a pick that you think that you can get something better than that, as long as you already have somebody that's fitting into that wide receiver 2 range.
Yeah. Find that guy. Find that one guy. I always like targeting these guys in some of those leagues, at least when I was playing more. Yeah, they're so in love with the 1st, they're willing to give you AJ Green for a 1st round pick if it's a top 10. Or throw in a second. You know what you can do with all that? Just find somebody just wants to build. And they're still building.
And that's the flip side of it, where it's like, man, people send me like a bunch of huge offers of like 3, 4, 5 1st round picks for guys like DeAndre Hopkins, Odell Beckham and stuff like that. It's like, man, like the best case scenario out of those draft picks is that I draft a DeAndre Hopkins, and the odds of me With with 3 draft picks, the odds of me getting 3 DeAndre Hopkins or 2 DeAndre Hopkins, it's not close. So that's why your guys, you in your head, you come up with a vision of what this player could be and where their ceiling is. And if that ceiling is not your wide receiver 1, you want to flip them for the picks that can get you that wide receiver 1. And if that guy, if you have a guy that's a wide receiver 1, you don't sell that for anything.
Yep. I hear you, man. You're preaching to the choir. I agree.
Yeah, for sure. So I do want to point out, as we kind of wrap up this interview, Gary's shiny new toy.
He's hey, I appreciate the IDP guys helping me come into the 21st century. When is it 22nd? What fucking century is it? I'm enjoying this. I'm looking forward to this coming off season.
Yeah,
I just can't wait.
So Gary's got a brand new mic, so you might be able to hear kind of a little more bass in his voice now, a little higher quality sound.
That's the other pair that I own, man. What you got? Yeah, that Nate turned me on to those when it's like, man, I'm gonna be on a pod. I'm like, oh shit, what do I buy?
Yeah, it's funny because I basically have a level. I've got equipment for each level you want to be at. So the first level, the bare minimum, is what Sean's wearing, and then the next upgrade is what I got you.
Nobody gives a shit about me or my opinion. Give me the lowest level.
Yeah.
Well, we're working on you.
Yeah.
You're next. So, but to go along with the toys is in the future we've got some projects going on that we'll be announcing. We're excited to announce and launch in hopefully by the end of the month. I'm thinking the end of the month sounds pretty good. To announce kind of the stuff that's going on. Gary, Sam, or one of our writers, Joe, just projects, man. And it's all to benefit our listeners, all to do more IDP relevant stuff and expand the brand, man.
Yeah, get that fucking information out to them as soon as possible. The
Gary
biggest edge
sitting
that you
on his hands.
the biggest edge that you can get on anything, just a whim before it hits mainstream media. It's just gold. It's just gold.
Yeah, for sure. Gary's chomping at the bit to just tell everyone what we've got cooking. So
yeah, I'm trying, man. I'm trying. I'm excited though.
Yeah,
I'm excited about this.
For sure.
I love what's happened with the website, man. I like what you guys have done. I like what this is offered, and I sure the hell like what it sounds like we're going to be doing in the future too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Gary, thanks for joining us on the show. It was a pleasure to have you as always, and look forward to have you on again.
Cool. Yeah. Hey, anytime. You know where I'm at.
Yeah, we do.
Have a good one.
Yeah. See you, Sean.
See ya.
Yeah.
All right. That was that. File. Save.
Hey, John, are you still there, man?
Yeah, I'm just tired.
Yeah, we can't see him. I hate not being able to see John.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Then we just talked up so much. John didn't get to say much.
I'm on the outgoing feed to whatever we're doing, but I can see you guys.
Yeah.
It kind of always rolls that way, where like interviews are always Nate and then either John or I, and one of us just kind of takes the back seat for him. It's just four people talking at the same time is usually a little much.
Yep.
Yeah. It's
sure.
kind of weird. I used to talk to John, man. I think I know I've known him the longest out of all of us. And I used to talk to him, man. We used to fucking kick the shit all the time in the chats. Now he's too good to talk to him. He's always busy volunteering, doing the right thing, man.
He's too good to talk to any of us, man.
Sean, you're not even in any of our chats.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
We bring you in, but you don't talk.
Nobody ats me. You at me, I'll be in there.
You're stuck in that DLP chat, the quagmire of.
I'm not even stuck in that chat. I don't even talk on that one. It's more just like, dude, I have so much going on, and so like I'm not actively seeking out anything. It's just whatever comes at me, I'll respond to it, and I'll jump into a conversation if I'm having one. But like, there's never a time in my day where I'm like, oh yeah, I got time to kick it and like jump into this chat real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No shit.
Well, maybe Gary should at you a few times. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah.
I don't know how that looks.
Yeah. But yeah, we got to work on that. Get you more into the site that you're.
I know. Well, I'm gonna
heading.
start writing. I'm gonna start writing for you guys over the off season. Do some draft stuff and
That would be
take
good.
a look at all that. So
Yeah, we need to kick up our writers.
Suck to end.
I gotta. We just lost Rob today.
really,
Officially, he hit me up with I'm not gonna be able to, hold up any, hold up my
are we
side
still
of the
on?
bargain.
Are we still on live feed or no?
Oh, we might be.
Well done, Nate. Well done.
It's okay. It's okay. We'll talk about this more later.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Jesus
How
Christ.
many people are going to actually watch this? Come on.
I don't know.
This is going to be
You're the
viral.
One, you're the one with the numbers.
50-year-old pervert sitting there in wearing nothing but a towel right now.
Yeah,
That's
dude, the
who's
guy,
watching this shit.
the guy who offered money to the site if I pooped on his chest. That dude's watching right now.
That would be
You do it?
great.
He's just, I didn't. He's just sitting there covered in shit watching our podcast right now.
Oh, Sean.
Oh shit, man!
Yeah.
People are fucking weird, man. Like,
That they are.
Yeah. It's the internet for you.
Definitely. So I didn't get to pull my '70s late night radio voice that Nate told me that.
oh man,
that
that's
sounded
perfect.
like that. Yeah, I was just trying to keep a minimum tone. That way, I didn't know how the mic was going.
Oh man, it would have been perfect if it was just like a quick. We could even just like record something quick and just throw that in to kick the show off. But I would have loved if we were just having a conversation and then you just kind of like slowly broke into that voice where it's just like, hey.
Welcome to WKRP Cincinnati, where you have the best tunes at night.
Tell me about your love troubles.
Delilah in the morning.
Trying to remember that Marvin Gaye. Was it Marvin Gaye that had that, that low, soft, loving, singing voice?
Yes, sir.
You want to know what's great is this is being recorded on YouTube, so I could pull the audio later.
Jesus.
Oh yeah, Debbie. Let's see. Welcome to the IDP Guys Radio Network. For tonight's entertainment, we're going to be talking with Johnny the Greek and Sean.
Why does Johnny get a nickname?
If at some point Nate has something interesting to hear or to say, we'll miss it.
Oh man, this is. I'm gonna have you record something later.
Be right back.
We're gonna start building up the intro music.
You know what I did a while ago, right, Nate? When I said I had to go for a minute, I had something to do. I had to rewatch one.
Oh,
I had to rewatch one of those lives because I already had that feeling. So you said it. It was like, yeah, definitely. That was funny.
Yeah, that's for sure. Oh man. Well, I think that was a good interview there. So
cool.
We'll let you go, Gary, and chat with you on the internets, and maybe Sean at some point might join us on the.
Oh my God, you're like my mom. Quit nagging me.
Oh yeah.
All right, I'll catch you guys years ago.
I won't see you on Twitter, Sean, and I'll see the rest of you around. All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll see you Sunday, man.
Yeah. All right. You guys have a good night.
Yep,
yeah, you too.
dude.
See ya.
Bye.
Oh, that's right. I'm gonna have to transition this out. I gotta.
How do I? So when Gary exits, how the hell do I get Johnny video?
How do you get Johnny video?
Yeah, give me some Johnny video.
You don't get any Johnny video.
But why?
because the video that we're transmitting is of me, so that I can also transit it to OBS.
Sometimes I just get sick of looking at you.
Can I get health insurance portal?
All right, we rolling right away, or are we smoking? What's the game plan here?
We can smoke. Smoke them if you got them.
Deal.
I will put it on Covfefe break. transition this in. So there's that. And let's do, let's go blank. We take it out of studio mode. So a little bit bigger there for you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's see here. Start with the ad for Clipcast. All right, and then who you got? Oh, so we gotta have. Do we need what? That's 12 teams.
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
I'll go first, and you can revive off that.
All right.
Yeah, I got mine.
Yep.
All right.
It's gonna be pretty much 8 salads, and the last 4 are your discretion. Sorry, the last 3 are your discretion. Chargers are pretty solid, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They look fucking great. That Sunday night game was awesome, by the way. Enjoyed the hell out of that.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's
Sorry.
get this train to rolling here. Sean, you haven't commented on my my drink.
It's because I couldn't see it because I had to have the book that's holding this up so far to the right that I was just totally missing whatever was going on with you on like your bottom half, which is usually okay. I don't need to see what's going on your bottom half.
I hear you. All right. Let's see. So you're not going to be able to hear the drops unless you want me to switch over to the input channel, and then John will probably sound far away.
Don't worry about it. That's good.
Okay. All right, so is everybody ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Let me just. All right.
Here we go. All right.
Let me grab another beer quick.
Yep.
All right, good to go.
Cool. All right, so. All right, welcome back to the IDP, guys. This is episode 64. My name is Nathan. I'm joined today with my co-host Johnny.
Hey.
And Sean.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. So to start off the show, just wanted to let everyone know again that we are partnered with Clipcast. It is a searchable podcast app or website where you can go and you can search your favorite podcasts, the ones that are hosted on the site, and it's growing every day. They've added a whole bunch of different Dynasty podcasts. They got another IDP. The Edge Crushers joined us on there, and you can search by name, by player name, and it'll go through all the podcasts that they have and pull clips where those players are mentioned. So if you're, trying to get information on like Mike Evans, or as far as IDP goes, like Justin Evans, Matt Milano, Foye Oluokun. Hey, I got the name right there. I was fumbling around with that one earlier. But you can search in their search bar, and it pulls up all of these pods directly within the 5-minute span that they mention this player, so that you can get your information right away and know what's going on. So you're not searching through all of these shows and trying to find the information. You can just bam right to it. So on Twitter, they're at clip_cast, and the website is clipca.st. Searchable podcasts, targeted clips. So let's get into the question of the day. This is a quick one. This is a short question. Who you got? Johnny, you want to explain this one?
Yeah, this is a PTI style question. Who you got? There's 4 weeks left till playoffs, so who you got? I got, in the AFC, the 1 seed as the Chiefs. Home field throughout. I think eventually they play the Patriots or the Chargers and beat them to go to the Super Bowl for a rematch against the Rams, although I wouldn't be surprised to see the Saints there. But my 2nd seed, I've got the Patriots, unfortunately. I think just no one's going to be able to catch them total record-wise. Chargers are right there with them, but I think the Patriots have an easier schedule the rest of the year. 3 seed, I got the Texans. They've been on a tear since starting 0-3. They look really good. 4, I've got the Steelers. AFC North is kind of dog shit, but I think the Steelers are the least dog shit in that division, so they'll wrap up the division. 5, I've got the Chargers as a 9 or 10-3 5 seed, which is crazy. They look really good, and I'm hoping against hope that they get to the Super Bowl this year, but I don't think so. And 6 seed, it could be the Broncos, it could be a couple other teams. I'm going Colts. I think despite that loss this last weekend where they scored no points whatsoever, they've been really hot lately besides that, so I think they'll be the one that sneaks in. For the NFC, I got the Rams as the 1 seed, Saints as the 2 seed. I think the Bears wrap up the division for the NFC North, take the 3 seed. I got Cowboys or Eagles as the 4 seed, probably Eagles, but I'm hoping Cowboys. We'll see. Doesn't matter. They're going to lose first round anyway, no matter which one it is. 5, I've got Seahawks, who have kind of surprisingly worked their way back into things. And 6 seed, I got the Vikings. What do you guys got?
I like a lot of what you've got there. I'm feeling Dallas. I was actually listening to ESPN Radio, and they were going over Dallas versus Eagles. Apparently, they're playing next. Those two, I think they're playing this coming week. But after that, the Eagles have the harder schedule. They go on to play the Rams, I think Seattle as well. And Dallas has a softer schedule. I'm trying to remember what it is exactly, but it was a bunch of teams that aren't going anywhere. So they have a good chance. So I like Dallas to get in by the skin of their teeth there.
What's the Seahawks record right now?
7-5.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting. Okay. So I have everything staying pretty much the same as it is right now. So I have the Chiefs, Pats, Texans, Steelers, Chargers, Ravens. With that one, the only team that I think could get in over the Ravens right now would be the Broncos, just because the Broncos play San Francisco, the Browns, Oakland, and they play the Chargers last week of the year. But that would put them at 9-7. And the Ravens have the Chiefs, who they lose to, the Bucks, who they beat, the Chargers, who they lose to, and the Browns, who they beat. So I would put both of them at 9-7. So I'm not sure which one of them has the tiebreaker, but whichever one has the tiebreaker, I think that's who gets in. Then the NFC, Rams, Saints, Bears, Cowboys, Vikings. Just because I don't think, and I missed the Seahawks somehow on here when I was looking at them.
Well,
but
you need one more team. You need 6 teams.
That's probably what it is, the Seahawks then.
Okay.
So yeah, I just didn't write them down. But yeah, I think that the other teams are looking at it. The Panthers have to play the Saints twice. The Seahawks have a tough schedule. The Washington has, they have a lot of easy schedules or a lot of easy games where they could win 4 of them if they still had Alex Smith, but they don't. So they're probably out too. And then the Bucks are 5-7 and they're out. So I think right now the way it stands is probably where it stands at the end, which is pretty strange for this time of year.
Yeah.
This week's news.
Alrighty. More good news this week. No, not really. So we'll start with the Kareem Hunt thing because everyone else is. He was put on the commissioner's exempt list for the next 6 games and released from the Chiefs for being an idiot. What say you fine gentlemen about this situation?
And he wasn't claimed either. Right. That's the big thing.
Yeah, I was a little surprised about that.
Well, he's too radioactive right now. Next year,
Yeah,
next year is a different story.
True.
I think most likely for Kareem Hunt, he doesn't get signed through free agency next year, and then everyone goes into the draft looking for their running back, and if they don't get the running back they want in the draft, Kareem Hunt's the consolation prize, and he gets signed after the draft is over.
Yeah, I could see it.
So, he's probably got a pending suspension coming, right? Or is this?
No, he definitely does. It's 6+ games is what has been said, but that was also before TMZ put out an article about a third incident that he had. So he had the one that they had videotape. He had the one that was at an quote Ohio resort. I don't know what the hell an Ohio resort.
How many resorts are in Ohio?
Yeah, I don't know what that looks like, but apparently there was one that happened there, and then there was one that happened at a nightclub. So realistically, man, like you can't do that and expect to have a job. So like I just don't. Any team that claims him is going to get just slayed in PR. And I don't know any team that's going to want him. I knew he wasn't going to get signed on waivers because only one team put in a claim on Reuben Foster, and it was the Redskins, who not even going to discuss the Redskins. But so they're the only team that put in a claim, and that was without video and with I guess multiple incidents, but there's no way that immediately after the Redskins just get slayed for signing Reuben Foster, that I think it was the next day? It was like within a couple days.
Yeah, it was very close.
Yeah, I think it was the day after Reuben Foster got signed that the video came out. And it was like, there's no way that after Reuben Foster, anybody is going to touch Kareem Hunt with video attached.
Yeah. But, I mean, looking at the football aspect of it, so Kareem Hunt basically doesn't play this year. Say he does get signed, he's looking at, a third to a little bit more than that. Kind of the, like Zeke Elliott, when he had his looming suspension.
Yeah, that was only 4 games, wasn't it, though?
That is true. Was it 4 games?
Yeah, I think it was 4.
Either way, it's a little different than with Zeke because Zeke went back, from a football perspective, Zeke went back to the same situation. So he was still behind that monster offensive line. You knew exactly what you were going to get out of him. Whereas, like, Kareem Hunt could be signed by anybody if he gets signed. So, like, we don't know what that means. Like, say he went to the Redskins and then he ends up splitting time with Darius Geis next year, or goes to the Browns and splits time with Nick Chubb, or goes to a team with a shitty offensive line. Like Andy Reid is known for making running backs. Everybody that plays for Andy Reid succeeds. Everyone that plays over with that Chiefs offense succeeds at running back. So there's no reason to believe that Kareem Hunt is going to be as good as he was with the Chiefs if he goes elsewhere. So you're looking at someone who's going to be suspended 6 games, already has all these character issues, may not get signed, may get signed and go to a different team and end up not being as productive. So it's just, to me, like, somebody's going to take that second round flyer that everybody always takes on the guys that are suspended. Like, that's where Zeke went. That's where Bell went when he was suspended. And you're going to be dealing with a longer suspension, someone with proven character issues, and somebody that is going to a different situation. It's just, to me, like, that second round flyer next year, assuming that the year started like with all the knowledge we have right now, is not worth it. There's no way that I would spend a second round pick on Kareem Hunt.
Yep.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's just too many questions. Let someone else make that gamble, I guess.
Okay, so Mike McCarthy got shit canned. By the way, Arizona was getting 14.5 points in that game.
Yeah.
Lock of the fucking century.
You had that for Johnny the Greek, didn't you?
I sure did. I actually probably should have put real money on it.
Yeah. That's too bad.
So you're telling other people to put real money on it, but
Nope. Yeah.
Yeah, McCarthy going was not unexpected. It's funny because I was sitting at a bar with my buddy who's a Packer fan, and the news that McCarthy got fired, we were just kind of like, yeah, we saw that coming. And then it flashed on the ESPN screen for the Vikings game, like probably 15 minutes later, and everyone was just, what? It was like, nah, like, I don't know why you're surprised by this. This has been a long time coming, guys.
Yeah, the thing that blew my mind was watching some of the Pittsburgh Twitter people screaming for Mike Tomlin's head and demanding that they hire McCarthy. Like, what are these people smoking? Like,
I don't know. I just don't want him to go to the Browns or the Lions. Jesus, man. If there was talk of him becoming the Lions offensive coordinator after the Lions fired Jim Bob Cooter, and oh my God, like if we're literally going to listen to Packer fans for 5 years bitch about play calling, and then have us bitch about play calling, fire our offensive coordinator, and hire somebody that the other team was bitching about play calling for, like, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
yep. So that Monday night game last night, Colt McCoy broke his leg. Yeah,
Apparently played on it, too, for a little bit.
I guess.
That's what I had heard.
But that's it for
Butt
him.
fumble.
Yep, so Sanchez is back in, which is terrific. Greg Olson also went to the IR. Something with his foot, some kind of plantar fasciitis tear or something. That's not great.
The NFL is better when Mark Sanchez is playing.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's entertaining. AJ Green also to IR, and that's not great.
Nah, that was a killer for me. I have a dynasty team that was looking at a championship that I was playing AJ Green as my wide receiver 3, and I didn't really have anybody else behind him.
Yeah, that one hurts. Chris Harris Jr. was supposed to go to IR, but wants to avoid surgery in case the Broncos make the playoffs, because then he could possibly come back in time for that. Regardless, though, IDP-wise, he's done for the year, so you can keep it on moving. Yep. Trey Wayne's concussion, that's why he had such a shit game and such an ideal matchup last week, so we'll keep an eye on that. James Conner's leg contusion, quote-unquote, was really a high ankle sprain, so he'll be out against the Raiders and maybe a little bit longer. What do we think about Mr. Jalen Samuel there, Sean?
It kind of depends, because I don't ever want to start the filling guy week 1, you know? So if he's missing multiple games, he's definitely worth a waiver wire move, because you're going to, like, playoffs are this week, theoretically, if you're doing 16 playoffs. So if you didn't get the bye, like, you're not going to want to start some guy off the waiver wire in any position on your roster before seeing what he has to offer, you know? So for me, if we think that James Conner is going to miss more than 1 week, you definitely pick him up. And if you have a first round bye in the playoffs, you definitely pick him up.
What about if you can play him as a tight end?
It's still, yeah. I mean, okay, if you can play him as a tight end, you pick him up. Which was the original reason I drafted him in a bunch of dynasty leagues, but he lost that eligibility in a lot of places.
Not in Yahoo.
Not in Yahoo. Okay.
Yeah.
Not in Yahoo.
And people are pissed. The Yahoo customer care has just been getting flattened for that, like the last 24 hours.
Well, then I'm sure they're going to change it right before, and everybody who had them is going to be like, what the fuck, man?
Nope. They came out and they made a statement. I follow their account. They made a statement today that they're keeping it as it is because it's been that way all year, and they're not going to change it up right before fantasy playoffs, no matter how many people are pissed.
Yeah, well, it shouldn't have been that way in the first place because he's never played tight end. So,
yeah. But I'm actually kind of interested in that, like, because I had Greg Olson in a couple places. If I can get this guy and roll the dice with him at tight end this week, sure, why not? Like, sign me up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the story I've been waiting for quite some time. Jerry Jones says that Sean Lee will return as the starter, a weak side linebacker, when healthy, and play his full complement of snaps.
Of course, Jerry would say that.
And he means it, too. He'll do it.
Right. No,
yeah. So, I mean, forget the fact that Van Der Esch has, like, won them 2 games. You know, we'll just forget that. So, yeah. Told you. I fucking told you guys.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yep. And last one is Christian Kirk to IR.
Sad.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Alrighty, now it's time for the gut checks. This is the part of the show where we pair 2 sets of defenders and a set of offensive players together. We talk about them in relation to the other, and if we would start, you know, who we would start over the other. And then we pair that up into a tweet, send that out to you all in Twitter land, and then talk about it the week after. So let's get into last week's gut checks here. The first one is John's temperature check on Leighton Vander Esch. The second week in a row. This time he was paired up against Green Bay's Blake Martinez with 98 votes. 65% went Leighton Vander Esch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes when in the middle of fantasy playoffs, Jerry Jones destroys your team.
Yeah. The next one is offensive, pair wide receivers. The Saints' Michael Thomas versus the Packers' Devontae Adams. 121 votes, 59% Michael Thomas.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then we've got a pair of safeties here. This was also, I believe, a hype check. It's Cincinnati's Jesse Bates versus Minnesota's Harrison Smith. 104 votes, 52% went Harrison Smith.
Boo!
Yeah, I don't understand that, but okay, whatever.
He's got a name.
Yeah, and he's as spotty as Nate's underwear with his EPI. All right, so for this week's gut checks,
my EPI has been under control the last.
That wet fart you cut outside says otherwise.
I'm so glad I don't live with you guys.
Yeah. Alrighty. So for this week, we got a pair of scatbacks. Skiddity scatbacks. Skiddity bop bop. First one is Philip Lindsay, who's been fucking awesome this year. I'm so glad I listened to Sean and got him everywhere. Has played 12 games, started 5, 937 yards. So he's going to break $1,000 this year. That's awesome. 8 rushing touchdowns, 25 receptions, 189 yards, 1 receiving touchdowns, no fumbles lost. Against Tariq Cohen, who has very similar stats and very similar points. Also has played 12 games, only started 6. 315 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 59 receptions, 659 yards, 4 receiving touchdowns, 2 fumbles lost. And I want Philip Lindsay, and I don't really have a good reason why, except I just like him better. What do you guys think?
Give me Philip Lindsay and more consistent volume.
Yeah, I like Philip Lindsay.
He's been consistent like every week except the week he punched someone and got thrown out. Yeah. Next one is a pair of up-and-coming defensive tackles, both young, both have played 3 or fewer seasons. First one is Sheldon Rankins, who has played and started 12 games for the Saints. He's got 21 solo tackles, 9 assists, 10 tackles for loss, 7 sacks, no forced fumbles, up against Larry Ogunjobi, defensive tackle for the Browns. Has also played and started all 12 games for them. Has 25 solo tackles, 13 assists, 5 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks, and 0 forced fumbles. And I want Sheldon Rankins because he's heating up at the right time. He's been more consistent overall, and he's younger.
Yeah, I've been playing
Sheldon Rank. Sorry, go ahead.
I've been playing Sheldon Rankins, so I have been enjoying his heating up and his performance.
Yeah, Sheldon Rankins was my guy a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, I think. I wanted the Lions to draft him really bad, so I'm a little biased on that one, but give me Sheldon Rankins.
All righty. And last one is a pair of rest of season linebackers. These guys mean nothing for next year, but this is a rest of season thing. First one is Gerald Hodges, who has taken over for Josh Bynes and absolutely lit shit up the past couple weeks. So he's played in 12 games, only started 3. In those, basically just those 3 games, has 32 solo tackles, 6 assists, and no other stats. But still, like 38 tackles in 3 games. That's pretty sweet. 1 tackle for loss, sorry, also. Up against Jatavis Brown, who has seen an uptick in playing time due to the injury to Denzel Perryman, Kazir White, people like that. Has played in 11 games, started in 6, has 48 solo tackles, 24 assists, 1 forced fumble, 4 pass defense, 1 sack, and 4 tackles for loss. And I want Gerald Hodges just because his offense is worse and he'll be on the field more. What do you guys think?
Give me Gerald Hodges just because I think it's more likely that he sees more playing time.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
All righty.
All right, just paused it. Let me just finish.
Excuse me?
I was writing something, and it was also coming out.
Okay. You're just kind of like mumbling into the microphone. I was like,
He's stroking out.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to get Bobby Wagner's stats for the review segment. So we're going to kick it off into the offensive waiver wire now.
Okay.
All right, so let's get into some offensive waivers.
All right, Sean, I'll shoot and you
catch.
You catch. I'll pitch and you catch. All right. So
God damn it.
So we talked Jalen Samuels a little bit already. So you just want to reiterate real quick what you thought about that?
Yeah, I like Jalen Samuels depending on the situation. So if Connor's going to miss multiple games, I really like him. If you have a first-round bye, I really like him. If you're banking on playing him this week, probably not the best pickup, unless he has tight end eligibility where you're playing. So,
gotcha. So Matt Bright is having ankle issues again. So Jeff Wilson Jr., running back 49ers, is a hot trending transaction this week. What do you think?
Yeah, he is, and it's kind of the same situation with Samuels, where like, are we really going to bench anybody to start Wilson this week? Probably not. So it's kind of a wait and see thing where you want to see what he does this week and then roll with it next week, assuming you're still in it. So basically, same thing. If you have a first round bye, or if they're expecting Breida to miss multiple weeks, which I don't believe they are, then you pick up Wilson.
Okay. How about Dante Pettis, wide receiver 49ers, had a massive game this week.
Yeah, I've been preaching Dante Pettis all year. He still probably don't feel comfortable starting him, but he's somebody that I really like, especially in Dynasty, obviously. But, yeah, I don't know. If you're starting Dante Pettis, you're probably not in good shape in the first place, and you're probably not in the playoffs, which is kind of how I feel about most of these waiver wire guys this week.
Yeah, this is not the best waiver wire I've seen so far. How about Justin Jackson, though, for the Chargers? He looked much better than Eckler.
Yeah, and he's somebody that we talked about preseason that I really liked. And that's great, but I don't think he's going to take over Eckler's receiving role. And I don't think that when Melvin Gordon comes back, there's any room for anything other than a receiving role. So, Dynasty, I love Justin Jackson. He's great. Right now, this season, trying to win games and win the playoffs, probably don't need him.
Okay, so with the Deshaun Jackson injury, Adam Humphries is still a thing. He won't die.
Pass.
Okay.
Pass.
Works for me. Jalen Richard?
Pass.
Zay Jones?
Yeah, Zay Jones is I loved him coming out of college, and then he sucked last year. And I was still a believer this year, and then he's been super inconsistent. He's had some really good weeks, really bad weeks. I still really like him for Dynasty. Don't think that I would start him this year going into the playoffs. Like, flex option maybe if you're, like, down somebody because of injury or something. But you're not starting him as a wide receiver 3 probably.
Okie dokie. How about Spencer Ware or Charkandrick West?
Spencer Ware is the answer, but Charkandrick West definitely doesn't help.
True. Plus, I heard he wants to like play all three of them because of course.
Yeah, you want to pick up West for sure, but if you have to start one of them, you start Ware.
Okie dokie. How about Ian Thomas to replace Greg Olson at tight end?
Yeah, I like Ian Thomas. He got a lot of work throughout the year and didn't do a whole lot with his snaps, but seems like with Greg Olson going down and the game plan was to use Greg Olson, they kind of just filled Ian Thomas into the Greg Olson role, you know? Whereas when they had Ian Thomas before, they were planning on not using him. Like the game plan was different when they had Ian Thomas versus Greg Olson. Whereas when Greg Olson went down, they kind of just filled Ian Thomas in. And so he had to get targets and it looked like he succeeded. So the thought would be that since he did decently, they're going to keep trying to use him. So, this week he's only a start if you're really desperate, but, which is the case for most of these guys, but he's somebody worth picking up if you don't have a good tight end, and then you kind of use them the week afterward if you make it through the first round.
Okay, how about Kenny Stills?
Kenny Stills has been a huge letdown for me. He's somebody that I really liked at the beginning of the year. I drafted him in a ton of places because I'm not a Devontae Parker believer, and they needed somebody to throw at. He's been a pretty big letdown all year, and it would seem strange to me if he just suddenly went on a hot streak, and realistically, if somebody else wants to take that chance, they can. I still have him rostered in a couple places, but I won't be starting him. So.
Yep, I've moved on from that as well. How about touchdown vulture Chase Edmonds?
Yeah, no, you can't count on somebody vulturing touchdowns.
All right, how about Cordell Patterson?
No, too many weapons over there that are not named Cordell Patterson.
Okay, how about John Kelly for the Rams?
Not in redrafts. Like, obviously, I talk a lot about John Kelly, but he was one of my favorite backs coming out of the class, and he landed in the worst spot possible that basically made him fantasy irrelevant outside of handcuff. So anybody that dropped him, then I scooped him up and I tried to trade him in Dynasty to the Gurley owner. And if they didn't want him, I'm keeping him stashed. Redraft, there's no way you're starting Gurley's backup.
What if it's like week 6? Do you think they sit Gurley week 16, 17?
It's possible, but I'm not going to bank on that, you know?
Yeah, okay. And last one is Chris Thompson, the old Fumblerooski.
Yeah, pick up Chris Thompson. He had a really bad first week back, but he's a PPR monster. He's good in open space, and it was really just a lack of volume. It's not that he's not good. He just didn't get the touches, and realistically, Peterson didn't get the touches either. It was just the game flow where I think Peterson had 9 carries, and that was it. So I just think the running backs in general didn't get the touches they usually get, so I'm sticking with Chris Thompson in terms of PPR. Full point PPR, Chris Thompson I like. Still probably not starting him next week unless you don't have a better option. But my bet for Chris Thompson next week would be somewhere around 11, 12 points.
Sounds good. That's offensive waivers.
All righty, Johnny. Let's get those defensive waivers going.
Okie dokie. I think only half a page this week. Things are winding down.
Yeah.
So we talked about Gerald Hodges a little bit at the start of this. He's came in for Josh Bynes and basically led the team in production since he has every week. So he's playing middle linebacker. He's putting up really great stats. He's getting the playing time. If you need linebacker help, this is like the perfect guy for you to get right now. Marcus Davenport's return is imminent. So if you need defensive end help, that's a great option if someone dropped him. Eli Apple was getting picked on all game against the Cowboys, and that's been something that's happened since he got there. He's considered the weak link, and they pick on him, and he gets easy points because of that. So if you need cornerback help, he's a great option. In case anyone didn't notice, Deion Jones is back.
Yay!
You guys noticed, right? I mean, he only had like 40 fucking points this week.
This is true.
Yeah, he had like 15 tackles. So, yeah, Deion Jones is back. You can play him if you want. I would. Also, Nick Vigil's back, but he only had 2 tackle assists on 97% of snaps, which is not ideal. it's still a mess. It's still a mess there. They're still working in Evans and Nickerson and Vincent Ray, and Perfect is concussed and this, that, and the other. I'm just staying the hell away from that whole thing. It's a giant mess. Raekwon had another good week with like 9 combined tackles, but he only played 64% of snaps, so that's going to catch up with him eventually. Kiko looks better. Kiko had a nice week again. He looks a little more on track, and this next week against the Patriots is like the ideal Kiko matchup ever. Like basically any middle or weak side linebacker that plays against the Patriots or the Cowboys is going to have an awesome game. So definitely play Kiko this week. Jordan Whitehead, even with Justin or Chris Evans. No, yeah, Chris Evans the Avenger. Justin Evans the safety. Right.
I really wish you would have let that go so I could just lose it on you.
Nope, I caught it.
Yeah, Captain America.
Yep, so Captain America was back this week, but he only played 27% of snaps. So Jordan Whitehead is still a good option at safety if you need safety help. He had another great week this week. Denico Autry, defensive tackle Colts, had a monster game, but he has been like Indian, Mexican food, diarrhea spotty this whole year, so stay away from him. He sucks. Speaking of guys that suck, Rashaan Evans had a huge day this week, but only played 47% of snaps, so that's probably not going to happen again. I would stay the hell away. Weird thing happened this week. Last week we talked about Elijah League coming in for Foster and taking over that weak side role. This week he played 3% of snaps, so I don't know what's going on there. Malcolm Smith moved into the weak side and had a nice game with 100% of snaps. So I would just stay away from that because there's no pattern. No pattern has emerged. Who knows who they're going to play next week. So I would just stay away from that entire thing. That's about all I got for you guys this week.
Alrighty. So let's switch gears and take a look back at the week 13, and we'll give 3 players each. Basically, our guy who overproduced, someone who satisfied our rankings, and someone who underproduced this week. Johnny, why don't you start?
Alrighty. So my overproduce is Alec Ogletree. He had a monster game with 5 solo tackles, 5 assists, 2 pass defense, 2 interceptions, and 1 touchdown. It was a pretty nice game.
That it was. Shawnee, who you got?
Dante Pettis with 29.7 points in full point PPR. We talked about him at least twice so far on this podcast. We've like today, and we talked about him a bunch all year. And I love Pettis, but 30 points is a little much to expect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So my over is Bobby Wagner, 8 tackles, 4 assists, a sack, a fumble recovery, a touchdown, and 109 turnover yards.
And some gas.
Yeah. Hey, he needed a little extra. Did you see him run the field? He's quick, but he's still a linebacker. So definitely over. Definitely over. When you get 110 turnover yards and a touchdown, I would say that's over.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not expecting that week in, week out usually.
But it was nice. I mean, for a tier 1 linebacker to just blow the doors off.
Play like a tier 1 linebacker.
I don't even think you could consider this a tier 1. This is a whole new tier. In one of my leagues, he got 60 points.
Yep. Alrighty. So who met?
Do you want to go, Johnny?
Oh, sure. For my Met expectations, I'm going to go with Linval Joseph. 5 solo tackles, 2 assists. That's probably a tad bit over what you would expect from him, but he's been in a slump lately, so it was nice to see him do his job this week.
What about?
I got Jarvis Landry at 16.3 points. Since Freddie Kitchens took over, it's been kind of rough for him, which is a bummer because I own him in a lot of places. And after the last 2 weeks, I benched him this week, and then he put up points. So that's the reality of fantasy. But if this is what we can expect going forward, I'm happy with that. This is kind of what we expected for the first half of the year. So I'm going with Jarvis Landry, expected at around 15-ish points.
So I went with Jalen Smith, 6 tackles, 3 assists. Fairly good production for him.
Yep, that sounds about right.
All right, Johnny, you want to do the under?
Sure. I'm going to take T.J. McDonald, who has been absolutely on fire lately, but only had 4 total tackles, 2 solo, 2 assists this week. But he's playing New England this week, so I would start your T.J. McDonald's.
Yep.
So my under is Tyreek Hill, who had 1 catch for 3 yards. I really thought that with Kareem Hunt leaving, they would try to use their other 2 playmakers. So I thought that they would use, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill to the max. And I was wrong. So, yeah, if this is what we are going to expect out of Tyreek Hill for the rest of the year, anybody who rode Tyreek Hill into the playoffs is in big trouble.
Yeah.
Yep. So my under is Michael Brockers, who got 1 tackle. Now, these things happen with defensive tackles, but the Rams were playing the Lions, and the Lions tend to suck at keeping Stafford upright. So Michael Brockers should have at least gotten a sack. That whole line should have gotten at least 2 sacks a couple times. It was just, I don't know. I mean, as a Lions fan, I'm happy. They still lost. I don't know. But yeah, Michael Brockers, 1 tackle.
We went from 16-0 to I'm happy even though they lost because we didn't suck terribly.
Yeah, you guys only let up 30. That's not too bad.
In the fourth quarter.
That was the narrative though, where everyone's like, yeah, he played him really close. The defense played really well. They held him, and it's like, dude, we let up 30 points. That was a disaster of a game.
Right. My favorite was Bryce breaking down the guy that was like, Gurley really didn't torch us too much with 130 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah,
it's 130 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
What?
It's like, yeah, no, he torched us. Everybody torched us. That game sucked.
Mm-hmm. That is for sure. There it is.
Johnny the Greek.
Alrighty, we won another one last week. We're at 7-6 on the year, so a little bit better than 500. Arizona actually was, I said this earlier, was getting 14.5 at Green Bay last week, which was unfucking believable upon further review. This week, I'm taking, this one looks really good. I don't know how this spread is so low, but the Rams are at Chicago, and they're only losing 3 points against possibly a backup quarterback or a rusty/dinged-up Trubisky. I can't see the Bears scoring with the Rams. I just can't see it. So
I'm with you.
Yeah, this is, I don't know why this spread is so low. Like this, sure, they're at Chicago, but really, like 3 points?
Yeah, no, give me the Rams.
Right, that makes no sense. So take it while it's this right now, because I'm sure it'll change. So do it now. Do it now.
Do it.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, make sure you're following the show at IDP, guys. Also, you can follow us individually at I am at Nate Cheat.
My name is Jeff.
John is at OrangeMan3142. Sean is at Lanny1925. Subscribe to the show. You can go to our website, idpguys.org. There's a sidebar with the links, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, RSS feed, so that you can get it in the podcatcher of your choice. If you'd like to help us out, donate to the show, you go to patreon.com/IDPguys. We have a lot of different perks depending on the level of donation, and all of that money flows right into helping us give you a better product, keep the lights on, that kind of thing. Also, we have a live stream every Sunday Excuse me.
Ah!
Sean was just waiting.
You made it through the whole Patreon and perks thing. That's where you fall apart every week.
Yep, I know it. Live
you made
stream...
it to level 2.
Hey, maybe in another 60 shows, I'll be able to do that smooth. Check us out on live stream every Sunday morning during the season. I guess we only got a couple more of these in reality. It's our start sits for Sunday. We are going to keep the live stream flowing into the off season. It'll be changed up since obviously you won't be starting or sitting players. But shit, just lost everything. Blank mind. So check us out this Sunday, 11 o'clock Eastern. We'll be sitting down with Gary, and Sean just left. So with that, it's been a fun show. I made it into playoffs in 2 leagues. How'd you do, Johnny?
10 for 10.
Damn, look at that. I'd ask Sean how he did, but he's away from the mic, so... everyone good luck with playoffs if you're in them. If not,
here he comes.
Here we go.
Sean, how many leagues did you make playoffs in?
I haven't even checked yet. I missed it in a couple that I take seriously, and that was like a real bummer. This is my worst year of fantasy so far, but I probably made it in about 75% of them.
Not bad.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Alrighty, so good luck, everyone, and we'll catch you next week.
All right.
There we go. I'll save. Cool. Let me just real quick switch over to... do I have a close? I do have a close.
Are we off the live feed?